Timothy Thatcher and Matt Riddle split up. We have new NXT Tag Team Champions, and the Interim Cruiserweight Championship Tournament continues. I'm Hayden from the Broforce, and this is your NXT Review. The show opens this week with Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher defending their NXT Tag Team Championships against Marcel Barthel and Fabian Eichner of Imperium. A good part of this was Matt Riddle hit Thatcher with his flip-flops in his entrance, which unknowingly to all of us would lead to what we saw about 20 minutes after this, but we'll get into that. Marcel and Thatcher started off the match, and it was a very mat-based back-and-forth match when those two were in it, and I really enjoyed it. I prefer that style, so I thought this match was very good. Eichner tagged out, and Riddle beat up Marcel on the outside before tagging in after Thatcher tried to tag him, but Riddle jumped down to attack Marcel instead, which again would lead to what we saw in a few minutes after this. It was a very back-and-forth match, it was even. Imperium got a lot of offense in, Thatcher and Riddle got a lot of offense in. No team was really portrayed as better than the other. It was very even offense. Both teams looked very good. Up until this, when Riddle inadvertently, while he was desperate for a tag, monkey flipped Marcel Barthel right into Timothy Thatcher, and Thatcher was incredibly angry about this and walked away. He turned on Riddle mid-match, Imperium hit the European Bomb, and we have new NXT Tag Team Champions. This was an incredible match, incredible story at the end. I love Imperium, very glad with them winning the belt. We get back from commercial, and Timothy Thatcher cuts a small promo backstage, basically saying he was tired of Riddle, he's tired of all of his fun and games, he needs to take it more seriously. Riddle confronts him, and it turns into a big brawl. After this, we have Tegan Nox versus Indi Hartwell. Hartwell gets a little offense in, but this match was not long at all. After a flurry, if you could even call it that, of offense from Hartwell, chokeslam from Tegan Nox, cut it all off, and then the rest of the match is all Tegan, and she eventually hits the shiniest wizard to get the win. I think this went less than 5 minutes. Definitely went less than 10. And then after that, we have a Rhea Ripley promo that says Io Shirai is not taking the title from Charlotte. Rhea Ripley is going to be the one to take it back to NXT, and God, I hope so, because I'm not enjoying Charlotte's NXT reign at all. And a match is announced for later in the night. It's Matt Riddle versus Timothy Thatcher. This happened incredibly fast. They split up, and then an hour and a half later, they're beating the crap out of each other in the ring already. Compare that to Gargano. I mean, it's nothing like Gargano and Ciampa, but compare it to that, where that feud lasted years, and this one immediately got into it in less than an episode of NXT. And then we have some action in the NXT Interim Cruiserweight Tournament backstage. Byron Saxton is interviewing Jake Atlas and reminds him, Atlas, if you lose this, you are out of the tournament. You cannot win. And the match was more back and forth than I expected. I expected this to be way shorter than it was, but I'm not complaining because this match was very good. I really like Jake Atlas. He has really proved himself in this tournament, how athletic he can be and how great of a wrestler he is. I wouldn't mind him winning this tournament, to be honest. Atlas was strung on the ropes at one point, like in Alberto Del Rio's stomp thing he used to do during his second run. And Tony Nese just starts chopping him. And then he climbs on top of the middle rope, I believe, and just started stomping him while he was hung up. And I think I found that funnier than I was meant to find it. It was very taunt heavy from Nese. Nese has been doing good in these last few weeks at adjusting to the no crowd, because you have to provide some audio to go with the match, and Tony Nese has been doing very good at that. And in the end, Jake Atlas picked up the victory. He is now 2-1 in the tournament. He's had all his matches. I'm not sure what happens if Drake Maverick wins next week, because then him, Kushida, and Atlas will all be 2-1, and it goes by head-to-head record. But it's a 3-way tie, and Atlas beat Maverick, Kushida beat Atlas, and Maverick would have beaten Kushida. So I'm not really sure. They might do a triple threat in that scenario. That's just assuming Drake Maverick wins. Kushida could win, and that would mean nothing. We have an Undisputed Era Zoom call. I assume it's a Zoom call. Could have been Discord. Who knows? Maybe they're cool. And they reunite with Kyle O'Reilly back in Canada. Well, Kyle might not live in Canada anymore. Kyle might live in Florida. Let's just assume Canada for this. And Kyle explains his absence as he's in a Hollywood blockbuster film. Kyle tells him they've been killing it every week on NXT. Cole responds saying he embarrassed Dream last week. And they talked about Dexter Lumis, and they said, on 3, let's say who we think should face Dexter Lumis. And all 4 of them said Roddy, so I assume next week maybe. Could be a takeover. Spoilers for later in the night. Roddy versus Lumis. I'm really looking forward to that match. I'm sure it'll be really good. Then we had a Karrion Kross vignette. It was a very good song choice for the background. It really fit in with the contents of the video package. And he says at the end, Ciampa was the first, but not the last. I cannot wait to see what Kross does after this. I was not familiar with him before he went to NXT, but I love him. He is doing amazing in this role. And after this, we get another vignette with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Dakota says she had to stop her rehab so they could film Tegan's, and I don't even think that was a heel thing of her to say. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did that. And Raquel says her and Dakota both know what it's like to be outcast, and that is the only explanation we have gotten as to why those two are together in the first place. But at least we finally got something. Then DX have their big announcement. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and then apparently Road Dogg halfway through it. They announced that the 25th anniversary of In Your House is tomorrow, or today when you're watching this. I'm recording this after I watched both Wednesday shows. Speaking of both Wednesday shows, an hour ago, Joe dropped his, so go check that out too. Cheap plug. And that on June 7th, it is NXT TakeOver In Your House. Yes, please. I'm all kinds of for this. I love this name. I think that was an excellent choice. Then we have Finn Balor versus Cameron Grimes. The match is mostly Cameron Grimes at first. A good chunk of this match is Cameron Grimes beating down Finn Balor. I can't tell if Finn's a face or a heel. I think he's more of a tweener role, just beats up anybody he wants to. And Grimes, in his own words, finally slaps the piss out of Finn Balor. Balor finally makes his comeback and beats down Grimes on the outside of the ring, and then mid-match, Damian Priest comes down and Balor runs and takes him out. But then, while the referee is distracted, Priest hits Finn with the nightstick, and all my notes, quote from my notes, "Oh my God, Grimes just beat Balor." This is huge for Cameron Grimes. It wasn't clean, but that's still, he beat one of the longest reigning, the second longest reigning NXT champion of all time. And then afterwards, Priest attacks Balor after the match and hits the Reckoning on the chair. Looks like at TakeOver, we could be getting Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. That match will be excellent. Then we have Jack Gallagher versus Isiah Swerve Scott. And pre-match, Nese attacks Swerve. Throws him into the steps out of anger, I guess, for losing. And I think he can't win his side now. No, I know he can't win his side now. Gallagher immediately hits the gentleman's dropkick, but Swerve gets his foot on the ropes. This was a very early finisher match, because not long afterwards, Swerve hit the house call on Jack Gallagher, but Gallagher kicked out of the house call, so maybe they have big plans for him, because I have not seen... But Gallagher may have been the first person since he went to WWE to kick out of the house call. Swerve sold his ribs for a lot of this match, based off of getting thrown to the step. Gallagher hits a discus forearm out of nowhere, which must be his finisher now, because he won, taking Swerve out of winning the group, and Gallagher can also not win in his group. After this, we have Kayden Carter versus Aliyah. I'm not really sure why this match happened. It was not very good. They held each other's leg for like the first 30 seconds of the match, not following through with anything. And there's finally a move when Carter hits a springboard dropkick, and Robert Stone comes out to observe because Aliyah's been trying to get his attention to join the Robert Stone brand. Aliyah goes for a moonsault, does not hit it. Carter taps her out with the deathlock. It really didn't feel like this needed to be on the show, if I'm being honest. This was probably the one down period from this week's NXT. We come back from commercial to have dinner with the Garganos. I love these segments. Gargano says, "Keith is nothing. Give me that match, please. I really, really want Gargano versus Keith Lee." But what happened afterwards, Candice saying that she refuses to pander and be pathetic like Mia Yim. Keith and Mia are together. Obviously, Gargano and Candice are together. It could be a mixed tag match. I'm not a big Mia Yim fan. I really don't like her. which may be a mean thing to say, but you come here for my honest opinions. So I really don't want that mixed tag match. I do really want Gargano versus Keith Lee, though. So they spent pretty much this entire segment running down Lee and Yim. So we're probably going to get that mixed tag eventually, but I really want that Gargano and Keith Lee singles match. It will be incredible whenever it happens. Then we have a few matches announced for next week. We have Drake Maverick versus Kushida to determine if he can get his job back or not. We have El Hijo del Fantasma versus Akira Tozawa in Group B action of the tournament. And we have Rhea Ripley versus Io Shirai, which I assume will be to determine the number one contender for Charlotte's NXT Women's Championship. And we close the show with our main event just an hour and a half after they split up. We already have Timothy Thatcher versus Matt Riddle. Riddle didn't do his normal entrance. He was actually serious, which is rare for Matt Riddle. Riddle does a lot of strikes in this match, and Thatcher does a lot of submissions in this match, both of their specialties being played out. Marinallo even mentions it on commentary, how their motto was Riddle will knock him out and Thatcher will tap him out. They go to the outside. You come back from commercial. They go to commercial immediately after they go to the outside. Thatcher later in the match reverses the floating bro and locks in the Fujiyama armbar, but Riddle gets out of it and tells Thatcher that, "You're not my bro." Thatcher locks in a knee bar, but Riddle turns it into a roll-up and gets the win in the main event NXT, but Thatcher attacks Riddle after the match, locks in the Fujiyama armbar twice, and the closing shot of NXT is Thatcher just going mental and locking in the Fujiyama armbar. This week's NXT was very good. I strongly enjoyed this show. I hadn't been enjoying NXT for a bit, so I was worried about reviewing this show. I thought I may have been too pessimistic about it. Really, the only down period for me was Aliyah versus Kayden Carter, but it wasn't even necessarily bad. It just felt kind of pointless. So NXT had a very strong showing this week, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was the better out of the Wednesday shows this week, because I watched both of them. It was a very good. I really enjoyed Thatcher versus Riddle. I enjoyed the opening tag match. I really, really liked Finn Balor versus Cameron Grimes. That was probably my favorite part of the night. Jake Atlas versus Tony Nese is up there. All the Cruiserweight. I just enjoyed the show. This was a very strong episode of NXT. The strongest we have seen in a while. So yeah, out of 10, I'd say I'd give this NXT like a solid 9 out of 10. It was very good. Anyway, go ahead and after you're watching this, if you haven't watched it already, go watch Joe's AEW review. Get ready for the Double or Nothing predictions this week. It will be out soon. It will come out this week, I promise. That is a promise from me. And then we'll have the SmackDown review on Saturday, and then this pattern will just remain weekly. Next week, a week from yesterday, we'll have our first non-review, non-predictions upload, so stay tuned for that. And then we'll have the SmackDown review on Saturday, and then this pattern will just remain weekly. Next week, a week from yesterday, we'll have our first non-review, non-predictions upload, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's all I have to say. NXT was very strong. I'm Hayden from the Broforce. Thank you for watching. Let me know your opinion on NXT in the comments below. Like, hit subscribe, turn on the notifications. And I will see you guys next time.